Hello, this is the Orthodox Experience with Father Michael Lilly. Today, I'd like to make a short video regarding marital fasting. As the Great Fast, Lent, is closely upon us, just about a week away, exactly today, would like to take a moment to speak about an often misunderstood practice in the church with regards to marriage relations between a husband and a wife. It's commonly a pious practice that any days of fasting from certain foods, abstinence from certain foods that we have in the church, also is a requirement that husband and wife would fast from intercourse at the same time. Now, this is a very devout and pious practice, and for many of us, this is the most commonly taught practice in our churches. But this is not at all a dogmatic decree. In fact, it might also not be in the spirit of the scriptures, as we know that St. Paul, in his first letter to the Corinthians, tells the husbands and wives not to enter into any period of denying each other unless it's done mutually. And so they both partners would have to agree upon this. There's no reason that fasting and Lent should draw people, separate them, and draw a wedge, bring a wedge between them. I would like to read a short story that was conveyed by one of the most long tenured priests in the Russian Orthodox Church abroad, Father Alexander Lebedev. Here I'm quoting from a post that he made some time ago. He says, not long after he and his wife were married, it was his third year in seminary at Jordanville. They were invited to lunch by some Russian couples that lived in the so-called Russian village. It's about 1 mile from the monastery. We gladly accepted. We were so poor, we were subsisting mainly on macaroni, so any invitation out was deeply appreciated, he says. After a wonderful meal, the old babushka of the house took us over to the side and conspiratorially whispered, "I know that you are recently married, but you do know, of course, that the church rules when you can and you can't." It was pretty clear that she was talking about, so we just politely nodded. She went on, "Well, you can't do it on Tuesday because that's the eve of a fast day. You can't do it on Wednesday because that is a fast day. You can't do it on Thursday because, again, that's the eve of a fast day. Also, you obviously can't do it on Friday because that's a fast day. You can't do it on Saturday because that's the eve of a feast day. And you can't do it on Sunday because that's a feast day." "What about Monday?" he asked. "Well, you can't do it on Monday either because an old pious custom, since Monday is dedicated to the bodiless powers, the angels, who are an example of purity, it's also a fast from the monastics. So that day's out of the question as well." I asked the Venerable Babushka, "And you followed these rules strictly when you were young and married?" She said, "Oh no," she replied, "we were young and foolish. We didn't know any better." So the point of this story is that old babushkas are the first to point out restrictions that do not at all exist according to the church. The scriptural admonition is for married couples not to deny each other sexual relations except by mutual consent for the purpose of prayer and fasting. This is what I quoted, or I was speaking of in the epistle to the 1 Corinthians by the Holy Apostle Paul. Abstinence from sexual relations by mutual consent is certainly appropriate the evening before the holy sacraments and during the day that one receives them. It is not certainly an absolute requirement of the church that you abstain from all fast days and on the eves of fast days or during the 11 days after Nativity when marriages are not permitted. The Russian church in the 13th century issued guidelines for married clergy on these issues, and they included as days of mandatory abstinence only the first and last weeks of Great Lent, the 2 weeks of the Dormition Lent, and Wednesdays and Fridays during Nativity Lent and the Lent of the Holy Apostles. The married state is blessed and the marriage bed is undefiled. The Holy Church is protecting the sanctity of marriage and the well-being of the spouses, as well as encouraging procreation, the raising of fair children. Has no interest in creating artificial impediments to preclude spouses from rejoicing in one another. If anyone wishes individual guidance on these matters, they should consult their spiritual father. So the point in this story and the point in this post is that if two spouses mutually consent to abstain from their marital relations during the holy 40-day fast and Holy Week, Godspeed, and may it be a very edifying endeavor. If this is a endeavor that is too large to take on, do not at all feel obligated to do it. And certainly do not judge those who choose not to do it. I've known too many people that would have a child during the, say, near Christmas, and people would start counting the months and how long that the woman and when she conceived. This is certainly just a pharisaical attitude that we do not in the church, that we do not need in the church, and that we tell ourselves 1 week in preparing for the fast that we will not be like this. So I wish those who are entering the fast a spiritually edifying one where you do fast from meat, fast from relations according to your partner's wishes, and where you attend the church and get something out of it, where we can grow closer to God and gain our holiness in some way, and that we may meet Pascha on the end for that bright and joyous, radiant feast. So God bless you all.